Then years later, I was reading that the government actually was taking toothpaste and going to certain schools across the country. The toothpaste was a little bit radiated.
Oh,
They wanted to see what would happen, over a prolonged period of time. Don't forget, that's the same time where they actually dumped radioactive waste in the air over a city. I mean, they done some strange things in the course of science from the 50s and 60s and 70s, and even now with contrails, the government says they don't exist, but then I've talked to some people that said that they do, and they flew the plane that was dispersing the stuff. So, but the government denies it. So, I mean, I know we're off the subject about Antarctica and aliens, but I do think all that stuff does, I hate to say it, it all ties in.
I don't think anybody, I never say never, but I don't think anybody really trusts the government anymore. We're electing people who have, absolutely no experience because we don't trust anybody anymore. We just, we think everybody's shady, everybody's on the take, and when they say, "Oh, well, we're not poisoning your toothpaste," or "Oh, there's no contrails," or "Oh, there's nothing to see here," which is their usual line, nobody's buying it anymore.
Well, no. I mean, how about you go buy toothpaste and it has fluoride in it? Well, fluoride is a poison. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, the companies that produce it, sell it to the toothpaste companies and to the water companies all around the world. They're happy because they couldn't get rid of the stuff. It was toxic.
Yeah.
But they found a way to get rid of it. Me and you brushing our teeth, drinking our water.
Yeah. Oh, I've heard all kinds of stuff on that fluoride. It makes us more stupid and susceptible to mind control. I've heard a ton of conspiracies on fluoride.
Oh yeah.
One of my other favorite ones is why the heck do they sell aluminum in deodorant? Aluminum is the number one ingredient in deodorant. When a woman or a man has breast cancer and they take those tumors out, they're filled with aluminum.
Aluminum hydrogel.
So,
Aluminum hydrogel.
Yeah. So why is not antidepressants and deodorants not making using, I guess, aluminum? Why can't they find another product? I'm sure there's got to be another product that works just as well. What's up with that?
Well, yeah, that I don't know. It just the whole. Boy, I shouldn't even started this because now I'm really going, and I know this is some of the stuff you kind of are into too. But I've
written. As you know, I've written eight books, and one of them, my nonfiction book, is called "Big Agro, Big Pharma, Big Conspiracy," and it's about the pharmaceutical and the agricultural.
Yeah. So how long have you been into this? What got you into this? I got to ask you that first before we go any farther. I mean, is this something it took a long time, or just one morning you woke up and you just started realizing a lot of things are going on?
Well, I'm in my 40s, so my first aha moment, things might not be as it seems, is when we did that Gulf War and Saddam Hussein was kind of hung out to dry, like he was some kind of bad guy, even though we were best friends with him for years prior, because he wanted part of that oil pipe to Kuwait, and then all of a sudden we're going to war with them. I mean, none of that. That whole thing was a bunch of bull. That was kind of one aha moment, and then 9/11 sealed the deal. That was pretty much it for me. The government is just, outright lying to us. There's so many BS stuff with, what the final reports are with that whole entire thing. That war was a bunch of bull that we went to Afghanistan for. It's just infuriated me. And, of course, as the years roll by, there's more and more and more that we've got that whole Benghazi thing, the Iranian. We're doing dealings with Russia. We're selling them our uranium, and that's okay. But now this new guy, Trump, who supposedly isn't involved with any of these guys, the guy's never run for alderman, and all of a sudden he's like this know-it-all on how to cheat in a presidential election with some Russians. I'm not buying it. I'm not believing anything anymore. Everything is so. I'm just really. I'm always. If the media is telling me to look here, I'm looking somewhere else because they're. You know what I mean? And I do listen to the mainstream media here and there, but I listen to a lot of shows like yours. I read a lot of blogs that have alternative ideas, and of course, my books are fiction, but they all have lots of research and lots of facts and lots of theories that are woven into the plot.
Uh-huh.
And I really hope that that we wake up as a country. I really do.
I don't know. I don't know if we will.
If we don't, we're going to be a one world government. That's the direction we're going. If we don't figure it out right now, game over.
Well, that's another thing. A government official told me that in the next few years they're going to actually start chipping people, and if that happens, I don't know. Right now,
that's in the Bible. Mark of the beast. That's in the Bible. I don't know if you're religious or not. That's mark of the beast. Your forehead or your arm.
Yeah, but it's coming. The things are just coming so fast. Going back 10 years ago. I mean, you take your dog in or a cat into the vet, and they say, "Hey, we can chip them," right? And then they start, after that, all of a sudden they started talking about, people being chipped. And then they say, well, gee, if you're chipped, then you don't have to carry a credit card. You don't have to carry cash. You've given.
I'd rather carry a credit card, carry cash. I'd rather carry cash, really. That's the best way.
Well, at that point, if you're and me and everybody else there is chipped, right, they're going to know everything you do, where you go, where you're at, and any second. As it is right now, 20 years ago, if I wanted to find out any smut about you or the guy that lives down the street from you, it would have been really almost impossible. Now I go on the internet, within 5 minutes, I go, oh my God, it's scary. And, hey, I have sent my wife some nice texts, messages through the years. I sure hate all of a sudden have somebody, come back and say, what were you doing?
Yeah. You could be at the wrong place at the wrong time, and guess what? You're a suspect in something that happened a few yards away.
Oh, yeah.
This is like, did you ever read that book, 1984, by George Orwell?
I read part of it.
Oh, one of my favorite books ever. He, when did he write that book? I want to say the 1930s, maybe. Did he have any idea that in less than 100 years, everything he wrote is true? Did he have any idea? I guess he saw it back then, and the book is not a book; it's a prophecy, and everything he said that would happen is happening. He in the book, he talked about how the government, Big Brother, monitors us every second of the day. The main character worked in the truth department, which was the propaganda department, and they deleted history.
Uh-huh.
That was his job, deleting history. And right now, my books aren't allowed to be sold in Germany because they have swastikas on them. They don't want to remember any of this.
Yeah, well, I've got a funny feeling from what I've been reading, eventually that's going to change because it's scary. But from what I've been reading, too, that the young generation is starting to have a different feeling about what their government is now, and they are going in the past type of thing. So the Nazi Party actually is starting to grow a little bit more in Germany and some other countries, which is kind of really scary.
Well, then what did Germany do? They invited a whole bunch of strict Muslims who practice Muslim at its worst core into that country, and they're raping the women, they're killing people, they're doing all this stuff. I mean, what were they thinking?
Well, they weren't thinking the right thing. I'll tell you that.
You don't invite hundreds of thousands of people who don't want to assimilate into your country. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And they're, of course, pissed off about it. That, by the way, I have read on the internet. That is not on our news.
Uh-huh. Oh, no. There's a lot of stuff you read on the internet. It's not in the news. It's just, I don't know. It's just, the news to me, it's just enough propaganda to, stir up the American public. But they don't, they don't really cover much of anything, really, as far as I can see. I mean, you look at the news every night, and it's and then you go on to BBC News or you go some other country's news, and you're seeing all these stories, and you look at our news and you don't see anything.
It's like you turn on CNN and, oh, yeah, Trump's colluding with the Russians. We're going to get him any day now. You turn on Fox, oh, yeah, Trump is set up, blah, blah, blah. Those are like the one story that you have two different sides. That's all they talk about. Can we talk about something else here? There's so much more going on, and both channels, it's like enough already. I don't know how you feel about it, but can we move on?
Well, it's about time we do. I mean, seriously. It's like every day that you look at the news and it's the same
it's
stuff.
The same story.
Yeah, it's it's Trump Russia again today. Trump Russia. They did some indictments against some Russians, and and I read it. Hey, it doesn't make Trump look good. Well, I don't know.
Right, and then his side will come up with, oh yeah, Hillary and Obama were bugging his penthouse or whatever. It's going on and on and on. And
to me, it's like a bunch of little kids in third grade. That's what it feels like to me.
Right. It's a distraction from real news. You're exactly right.
And maybe that's what they're doing purposely.
Yeah.
To keep us where, I don't know. Like I said, I've been talking about fake news because, you hear from the White House and you hear from this person, you hear about this one, all the news is fake. I mean, what are you supposed to believe? That's what I said. When I look at my news, I go on to BBC or someplace like that, and the UK or some other country, and look at their news. Yeah. BBC.
I like this one channel I get. I'm in Texas, called OANN. It's an independent news, very privately funded. There's no commercials. That one's kind of interesting. They like to mix it up. They don't have the same stories as everyone else. And no, I'm with you. I would really just like to hear the news. Now we don't really hear too much of the news anymore. It's everyone's opinion.
Yeah, I don't know. It sure changed from the 70s and 80s, and you got into the mid-90s, and then the news started changing a little bit. When you got in the 2000s, that's when the news really, started really changing. And to me, right around the mid-2000s, that's when, or I should say around the 2010 era, is when I started not believing what I, read or saw. And, it was confusing.
It was shady. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. You know, like it's sort of strange. Like Brazil, I'm going to change the subject totally here. Brazil, Austria,